Benjamin Netanyahu freehanding Gaza. Piker will be attending the Coachella Festival, where he will be streaming a concert by the Irish band Kneecap as the band performs the words Israel, Free Palestine are lit up in the background. All right, let me see if I can get this article to how do I skip paywalls? Because I kind of want to read this article real quick about how this Finnish journalist at Helsingin Sanomat was watched my stream for an entire week to figure out what was going on. This didn't work. What's happening here? Why didn't it work? Okay. Archive is more reliable, I think. Okay. This is how to bypass paywall using incognito mode, then restart PC, refresh article, and it will turn off. Thanks, man. I don't think I'm going to do any of those things. All right. The left's Joe Rogan challenges anyone, and chat goes wild. I watched one stream for a week. United States left-wing influencer Hasan Piker is a rarity in a field where right-wing influencers are a familiar sight. It becomes clear within the first few minutes where Hasan Piker's fanbase stands politically. Let's play some music in the background while I read this. The stream begins with the song "And Lenin is Young Again," played in honor of Lenin's birthday. Although Gen Z speaks fluent irony, it is clear that we are far from being middle-of-the-road Democrats. Shortly after the song, Piker gets a little heated. His comments have caused a huge stir in some circles. He briefly explains why the ultra-rich are a bigger problem in society than ordinary millionaires like Piker. Piker from the United States streams for 8 hours a day to his 2.8 million followers. He talks politics. Swedish accent for Finnish. You're going to trigger so many people. Okay, whatever. He talks politics, watches news videos, and argues with chat commentators. Piker's channel is one of the most watched on the live stream platform Twitch. Since Donald Trump won the presidential election, countless analyses have been published about where the Democrats went wrong. I watched Piker stream for a week to understand how left-leaning young Americans would answer the question. First, a few words about Piker. The man known as Joe Rogan had left. On Today Explained podcast, he describes himself as anti-war, anti-imperialist. He believes that the U.S. economy and society should be organized more fairly and that money should be spent on building a welfare state instead of wars. Piker doesn't consider himself a Democrat. On the contrary, he often says he's disappointed with their policies. For example, the Joe Biden administration, which used language borrowed from the right about immigrants and did not renegotiate the Iran nuclear deal. Okay, I feel like this article has avoided one major criticism that I have of the Biden administration thus far, and just Israel. I don't know what like Finland's attitude towards Israel is. I wouldn't expect it to be pro-Israel though, especially considering like Norwegian history with Israel. I assume that Finland is probably in that category of like not being super pro-Israel either, but maybe I'm wrong. Norway definitely is one of the best like countries historically on Israel in comparison to I mean, this is a very low bar to clear, okay? Make no mistake. But Norway definitely is like historically much better on the issue of Israel than like many of its counterparts in the region. This doesn't mean that they're like rugged anti-Zionist, mind you, but you know, they're not fighters, Piker states. During the days I spent working on Piker's content, his topics of conversation are familiar from the news: the death of the Pope, the deportation of Gilmar Burger Garcia to El Salvador, and the trade war. However, Piker's way of commenting on the news is completely different from the style of traditional media. He is a condensation of the speech patterns and culture of a generation that grew up on the internet. In the stream, Piker watches videos, then pauses them every 10 seconds and interspersed with shouting and swearing, explains what is wrong with what the talking heads are saying. It's undeniably entertaining to listen to. In one of his streams, Piker watches a CNN video of far-right extremist Ivan Raiklin. He compares the man's appearance to Uruk-hai from The Lord of the Rings. It's horrible to watch. No wonder he's a Nazi. He says we have to defend the white race, but man, I'm not sure you're any race, Piker threatens. Oh no, they're playing my hits over there in Finland. Oh dude, that was so funny. I did say that. That is true. Those are words I said. Chatters receive similar, if not quite as harsh treatment. You're too stupid to realize this, Piker says when someone challenges him. But it is clear that there is no reconciliation now. Of all the news topic, Gaza receives the most attention from Piker. He talks about the United States' involvement in the murder of Palestinian babies, his disappointment with the traditional media's coverage of Israel, and how both Trump and Biden give Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu a free hand in Gaza. Piker will be attending the Coachella Festival, where he will be streaming a concert by the Irish band Kneecap as the band performs the words Israel, Free Palestine are lit up in the background. Watching the stream, one gets the feeling that Biden's Israel policy is the Democrats' biggest single failure. I think so. That's a fair assessment. Sociologist Neil Gross wrote this spring in the U.S. newspaper, the New York Times, that young people did not vote for Donald Trump because he had become more conservative, but because of the economy. Not because he had become more conservative, but because of the economy. This view is supported by an AP VoteCast poll, according to which 40% of those under 30 said the economy is the single biggest factor influencing their voting decision. In addition, Gross believes that some young people stayed home because Harris was considered too progressive or not progressive enough. Gross's assessment matches the atmosphere prevailing in Piker's chat. Many debaters find Democrats almost as repulsive as Republicans, so strongly, in fact, that sometimes even the moderator himself is surprised. When Piker talks about Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen's visit to Abrego Garcia, who was flown to El Salvador in one of his streams, many chatters don't think the act has any significance. Some say it's just a Democratic deception operation. What's going on in the chat? Why are you so pessimistic? Piker asks. One day, Piker says in his side sentence that he's receiving from people who don't consider him leftist enough. Pazan Piker says he thinks it's healthy for people to be a little bitter about the rich. He's talking about healthy resentment, something that many young people in the United States are experiencing right now. The internet is misrepresenting the anguish of young people that they will never live the same life as their parent house and support a family of 4 on one person's income. The worry about finances that Gross identifies is chilling. For the angry and disillusioned, there is a wide range of solutions on the right. The internet is full of characters like Tucker Carlson and Andrew Tate who believe that the problems are caused by immigrants, feminism, and wokeness. For those who want something different, there is Hassan Piker. Interesting article. Not a Norwegian article, a Finnish article. There's demonstrations a lot against Israel in the U.S. Around the city of Helsinki quite often. There's plenty of supporters for an end to the genocide here. The government doesn't speak a thing against it. For example, they had a light tribute all winter last year for Ukraine. Blue and yellow lit up all night, opposed to ever a red, green, and black tribute. I think Finland follows the U.S. on this. Yeah. Norway while Trump glazes the king. Yeah. Today, we mark the establishment of diplomatic relations between Norway and the state of Palestine. Congratulations to the newly appointed Palestinian ambassador, Mary Sadin, on the presentation of her credentials to His Majesty King Harald. Is this a New York Times article? No, this is a Finnish newspaper that has written about me before. This person apparently was in the chat amongst us. And China warns countries not to strike trade deals with the U.S. What is this? The last part explains why he wants to come to China but dares not, because although he's a celebrity on the edge of the Democratic Party mainstream media, some left-wing politicians often interview him on their shows. Even the 24-hour Democratic Party Congress provided him with a terrorist media secret worth $500 a day for free, which is CNN-level treatment. He's afraid that he'll be blacklisted from the U.S. if he goes to China, which will lose his biggest base. Still need to eat. I think he made the right choice. What? Bro, this says, dude, I'm popping on Bilibili as always, okay? Yeah, the newspaper is the Helsinki Time, I guess. Helsingin Sanomat. The other article that we were going to read also was this one. Apparently, The Atlantic wrote about Asmongold, which I think is cool. I can't wait to see what like normies and their approach to Asmongold looks like at a time when people have gotten progressively more conservative. I do wonder what that will look like. I do wonder, you know, what people's attitude will look like. But